a large portion of my 17-year battle with eating disorders was when I was obsessed with bodybuilding. And I still get a lot of questions as to why I quit pursuing and training like a bodybuilder, especially since I'm still a personal trainer. So I thought I would share my experience with you guys on today's episode of Done with Dieting. Hey guys, I'm Jessie Riemann, and I'm a certified eating disorder recovery coach, personal trainer, and manifestation coach. And on this channel, we talk about overcoming eating disorders and body dysmorphia and how to manifest your dream life using self-love techniques and by building more self-confidence. Basically, I'm going to help you fire that negative inner self-critic and help you unleash your inner confident badass. Before we get started, I just want to say that this is in no way meant to criticize anyone who is a bodybuilder. This is simply my experience and why I made the decision that it wasn't right for me anymore. When I discovered the world of bodybuilding, I had already had anorexia and bulimia for about 10 years, and I was obviously still desperately trying to find ways to control my body and to lose weight because I had been steadily gaining weight with bulimia. And I figured that bodybuilding was a way for me to accept having a larger, more muscular body, and that because you have to eat a lot of so-called healthy food, that I wouldn't have an eating disorder anymore. But in reality, it was just another way of channeling. It was another form of an eating disorder, to be honest. So I started off with weight training, progressively heavier and heavier for probably about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 5-6 days a week, and was eating a typical old school bodybuilder diet where you eat 5 or 6 meals a day. Your first meal is like 5 or 6 egg whites with plain oatmeal that maybe had, at that time, probably, what's it called, Splenda and cinnamon maybe in it. And then the rest of the meals throughout your day, every 2 to 3 hours, are like a chicken breast, brown rice, broccoli, no oil, salt-free seasoning. So when that wasn't getting me the results I was after, I decided to hire a very popular online bodybuilding coach who added 30 minutes of daily cardio to my routine and dropped my calories, and then progressed my cardio to 45 minutes a day, then 55 minutes a day, and topped out at two cardio sessions a day at 40 minutes each, on top of 3 days a week of probably an hour of weight training, and just continued to cut my calories over time. And I was religious about following this process. I'm a very type A kind of person, and at that time, because I was already willing to do extreme things, I was going to follow this to the T. Now, because this kind of training was taking so much of my energy, and realistically now I understand how unrealistic that really was, I started to take in copious amounts of caffeine. At my worst, we're going to say, I would start my morning out with either whatever the big version of a sugar-free Rockstar is, those are disgusting, or what's the big size called, a venti Americano that I would just put some stevia drops in from Starbucks. This is not advertised by Starbucks. So that was in the morning, and then I was taking fat burners as well, which have tons of caffeine, and their purpose is to try to increase your internal body temperature to help you burn more calories at rest, so you're like hot all the time when you take fat burners. And then before my workout, I would take usually 2 scoops of a pre-workout supplement, and that has tons of caffeine in it as well. And then because at this time I was already a personal trainer, I was working clients in the morning and clients at night. Before I would go back to work at night and I was exhausted, I would get another sugar-free Rockstar or another venti Americano, and this was killing my adrenals. This is not healthy. I'm not condoning this. It's simply just what I did, and as a result, I started, just like anything, you start to adapt to it, and when this much caffeine isn't enough, then you need more and more and more. And I mean, I couldn't do any more caffeine than that. I was so exhausted every single day, no matter how much caffeine I was taking. and yet still forcing myself through these workouts, no matter if I was sick, just no matter what. Now, when I had only lost 10 pounds after 12 weeks of working with this coach, he accused me of cheating on my diet because most of his clients, rather, he said, by now have lost at least 20 pounds, and that's the only reason that you could possibly not be losing weight at this point. And at the same time, my health was completely tanking. I was bloated all the time. I felt like I just was not digesting my food properly, and of course it's relating to not being able to lose weight, in addition to everything you guys already know about the metabolism. And so I hired a naturopathic doctor to start helping me with those health problems and stopped working with that coach. Now, this was not the same naturopath that I have talked about in other videos, but this one decided to do food sensitivity testing, and I ended up finding out that I was literally sensitive to everything except spinach, avocado, onions, and olives, and I think that was it. And the things that I was supposedly the most sensitive to were gluten, dairy, soy, corn, chicken, and eggs. Wait, chicken and eggs? But I was eating those like all the time. So now what the heck was I supposed to eat while still trying to be a bodybuilder? So I made my diet that much more restrictive. I think I started replacing chicken with turkey because I was a lot less sensitive to it, and just, you know, the amount of variety that I had was extremely limited. So at this point, I decided to hire yet another online bodybuilding coach. This woman I had followed for quite some time. She was a pro figure competitor who was now coaching, and she claimed that she was going to help heal my metabolism through reverse dieting. And if you're not familiar with reverse dieting, be sure to check out my other video on reverse dieting. I'll be sure to link that in the description below. And would never force me to do extreme cardio ever again. However, little by little, as I was not losing much weight, yet again, here came the calorie cuts and more cardio again, but this time in the form of HIIT training, which is short for high intensity interval training. And she was having me do HIIT workouts. I believe it was for 30 minutes at the top. I think we started out doing 15-minute ones, and then as I wasn't losing enough weight, they progressed to 30-minute HIIT workouts. I think it was 5 days a week, on top of 6 days a week of really heavy weight training for probably about an hour each workout. And my health obviously began to tank some more. I had extreme adrenal fatigue at this point, still pretty severe digestive problems, was not losing weight, I think again at most, because actually I should add that in the beginning she started adding calories in to supposedly reverse diet me, and I gained 12 pounds, and then once she started cutting the calories and adding in cardio, I took 10 of those back off and wasn't able to lose any more weight beyond that. Again, very restrictively and diligently following whatever she was sending me. And I might add that she was actually toward the end of our coaching getting ready for another bodybuilding competition. And I happened to ask her where her current macros and cardio levels were, since she was so close to a show. And I had, I think at the beginning of our coaching, had a goal of losing like 30 or 40 pounds, and had only, like I said, lost 10 of that. Turned out her macros and her cardio, you guys, were pretty much exactly the same as what I was doing, and I had only lost about 10 pounds. And here was this woman who was literally, I think, 2 weeks out from doing a bodybuilding show. So that kind of woke me up and made me realize that she was just giving me another cookie cutter plan. She wasn't focused on my health. So I made the decision to stop working with her and to start really putting some focus on my health. So I took the next 5 months to take a much more relaxed approach to training. I think I was doing like 3 days a week of just kind of moderate in terms of weight, as how heavy the weights were. And whenever I would start to feel extremely tired, I would stop and I would go home. And then I was eating less restrictively, but to be honest, it was not even close to recovery. I think I was just allowing myself to eat some things that I normally wouldn't, but everything was still like super portion controlled. And I was resting a lot more. I wasn't doing any cardio at this point, and I started to feel better. My adrenal fatigue was definitely improving. As long as I stuck within my so-called safe foods, I didn't have digestive problems. And around this time, after the 5-month mark, I discovered a new style of training for bodybuilding and eating, and I decided to go all gung-ho doing this. And I began weight training literally 2 to 2.5 hours, 6 days a week, like really heavy, intense training, tons of supersets, tons of giant sets. It doesn't matter. I was just training a lot. And I was back to doing 5 to 6 meals a day, and still doing the plain oatmeal and eating extra lean turkey, dry extra lean turkey instead of egg whites, since I supposedly couldn't tolerate eggs. And the rest of my meals were turkey, white rice because it was easy to digest, and spinach with hot sauce. No oil. I think I used minimal salt. And yeah, so I did that consistently. Started to see a little more progress, but was always feeling kind of full and bloated and had constant food cravings. Now, still thinking that my problems were because I was not training hard enough, I added 40 minutes a day of fasted, steady state cardio on the step mill. I would literally do this probably about 5 or 6 days a week, very religiously, in addition to 2.5 hours, 6 days a week of very heavy, intense training. I was doing 2 leg days a week. I was like squatting 280 pounds for reps. I was benching 225 for reps. I was deadlifting 315 pounds. I was finally seeing lots more muscle and definition, and I was taking mirror selfies all the time, and I was looking like on the surface that I thought I was a confident badass. But the truth, literally all I could do was eat, sleep, talk bodybuilding. I left family gatherings all the time to go train and to go eat my safe bodybuilding foods. I rarely ever ate out at restaurants, and if I did, it would be a plain salad with no dressing or dry salmon and vegetables. I was moody and irritable and constantly obsessed with food. I was definitely one of those people who looked up Instagram accounts with what they call food porn, with just the most rich, calorie-loaded foods you could possibly think of. I was always tired. I would wake up probably 4+ times a night to go to the bathroom. I literally had colds and flus probably 4 to 6 times a year. Like, it literally felt like I was always sick, you guys. I was getting injured a lot more often. And at this point, my digestion was the worst, the absolute worst it had ever been. I couldn't digest anything. Food would literally just sit in my stomach and like a rock, and I was just always so bloated that I remember describing it like somebody was blowing up a balloon in my stomach all the time, and it was so uncomfortable and so painful. And to be honest, I didn't feel like me. All that muscle was making just me personally feel the complete opposite of feminine. And and all of that said, okay, even with how hard I was training and how restrictively I was eating, okay, there was a point to where I still could not lean out any more than that naturally. I could not get lean enough to compete in a show. So this is when it was being suggested to me all over the gym to start taking some testosterone, or worse, steroids, and being told that all of my problems, digestive problems, getting lean enough, all those problems would just magically go away. And I think that this is when I knew that this world just wasn't for me anymore. And I knew that I already had a very addictive personality, and so like steroids would only have made that problem worse. I was so terrified of absolutely ruining my health and my femininity, and I was already so sick and so miserable that I wasn't about to start taking drugs too. So I very slowly started to take training out and eventually stopped training to completely focus on my health. And it was so hard. I felt as if everything that I had worked so hard for 7 years, I was just throwing down the drain. I felt like a failure, and it was a long road to recovering my health. Fortunately though, after 2 years, I discovered eating disorder recovery on YouTube, and the rest is pretty much history. Now, I don't at all regret that time as a bodybuilder because it taught me so much about myself. It allowed me to further my personal training business. It allowed me to meet some absolutely incredible people, and it showed me just how strong I could be. I mean, sure, physically, but most importantly, mentally. And I still love fitness. It's just changed. And now I do more of what I love, dance, and what makes me feel good. And I have a healthy relationship with food and my body and exercise. And I feel great about myself. Honestly, more confident than I ever felt as a bodybuilder. And that is just so much more worth it to me. So that's my story as to why I personally made the decision for myself to quit pursuing and training like a bodybuilder. So if you liked this video and would like to see more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you never miss an update. And if you found this video helpful and enjoyable, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. It really does help us to reach more people who also wish to learn how to have more self-confidence, how to love themselves more, and how to be done with dieting. Bye guys.